Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another evening with me, Kalu Aja, on Money Spaces with us. How you all doing? Welcome back. It's been some interesting absences, but we're back here, and we're back here to learn all about money, the economy, personal finance, and what a great show I've got for you guys today. Once again, my name is Kalu Aja, and we do our spaces every weekend where we talk about money, but we make it personal, right? We want to make it personal to you. How does money impact your wallet? That's what we really do every weekend for you guys. Today, we've got two great guests. I cannot wait to introduce them to you guys. And we want to talk really about this is all about the Global Money Week, right? Global Money Week. And the theme for this year is plan your money, plan to your future. I love it. Plan your money, plan to your future. I really, really like that, right? And today I'm going to have Chidima. She's from the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Nigerian Stock Exchange, right? And also my good friend Oluwatosi. They're going to be talking to us today. Tosi is now a speaker. I'm just holding on for Chidima to jump in here so we can start our spaces. Tosi, how you doing? Welcome back to Nigeria. I see you in Egypt. I see you in the Americas. Are you in Lagos? Welcome back.
Hi, Kalu. How you doing? I'm still currently in Egypt, but I'll be in Lagos tomorrow. How
Okay,
you doing?
I'm doing very well. So you're coming back to Nigeria, right? Just checking.
Yes, yes, yes. It's home.
All right, just making sure, Tosi. I'm grateful. I mean, if you don't know Tosi, you've got to follow Tosi. Tosi is the founder of Money Africa, and I follow her on Twitter. I mean, I'm just. Let me say this: I'm just proud of what she's accomplished, not just on Twitter, but in the business just started to educate folks about money, right? So she's just a role model for me, not just professional, but just her own personal life, how she's calm, speaking truth and good, and just being a very, very good person, raising up her parents and all that. I just love her for that. So, Tosi, this is just my shout out to you, just saying, well done, keep doing what you're doing, and we all love you, right?
Oh, you're so kind. I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, right? Okay, Tosi, we're going to just kick off with you because I'm waiting for Chidima to come in here. I'm sure she's going to do once she's in here, then we'll start. We're talking, it's a Global Money Week, and essentially we're just talking about money really, and you are a money person, right? So just talk to us about money management. I would just say introduce yourself, then talk to us broadly about money management. What is it? Why should we manage our money? Why can't I do it myself? Why do I need an expert? What should I know? Just talk to us broadly. You've got the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for that intro, Kalu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatosin Olasenji. I'm the founder of Money Africa, and basically we educate people about money leveraging on technology. So, like, why should we learn about money? Let me use myself as a case study. I have two degrees in finance and I was working at an audit firm. And while I was working there, this was in Johannesburg, South Africa, for the first 4 years of my career, I was living from hand to mouth. So many people think, oh, I need to have a finance degree and things like that. But in actual fact, about 80% of your money moves are actually based on habits and behavior, and then the remaining 20% is based on knowledge. So while knowledge is really excellent and we advocate strongly for it, it's like you putting a seed in a poor soil. To dry up, it won't grow.
Mm,
So we advocate for a good quality seed, but even most importantly, we want a solid soil, and your mindset is that soil. So knowledge is great, and the mindset is also very key. Now, why do we advocate for this? There's a lot of research that is backing it. You see people that work at Wall Street, people that you see good amount of money has passed through their hands and they don't have anything to show for it. And we do
mm,
not want that story to be ours. So we
mm.
have to be very intentional. We have to be super intentional. You know the way you would not leave your house and hoping nobody goes out without taking a shower and brushing their teeth? That's the same kind of intentionality we want to have with our money. It's not something that will just, happen. Have to be intentional. The way you walk to the shower, switch it on, take a shower, you brush your teeth. The same way we are intentional about our money because we have to do it.
I love that word you use, intentional. And I like the reference you made to fertile ground. I want to take you up on that. So, is it if I'm intense but the ground is not fertile, does that work? Which is more important, the ground I'm sowing in or my own intentions? How does it work, more or less?
I would advocate more for the ground you're sowing in. Let me give you an
Mm,
example. If you have a fertile soil,
mm,
have you ever seen a situation where nobody even intentionally planted a crop or something and then something really just starts growing there?
mm.
But no matter how great that seed is, if it's in a poor soil, it will never germinate. So
Interesting.
I would first of all start with a fantastic soil because I
Mm.
might just be lucky. Somebody might just be sucking orange and drop a seed in it and it grows. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
have to work with, right? So if I have to choose, I would choose a fertile soil. However, both of them are very important.
That is so true, Tosi. That is so, so true. When you put it that way, I totally agree with you. So, I mean, where you are investing is important. Investing with intent and, of course, with knowledge is also very, very important. And when you were talking, you spoke about financial security, how you started living hand to mouth. What specifics, like taking your own example, did you do? How did you go from living hand to mouth to say living from earning money to investing and then of course spending? What practical steps did you take?
Okay, so in terms of practical steps, what actually happened was reality. In the spirit of honesty, I come from a middle class family, right? So I wouldn't lie and say, other things were really rough.
Mm.
So I lived in Johannesburg, and for the first 4 years of my career, I was living from hand to mouth. I had to come back to Nigeria for work, right? So there was a 1 month gap between me starting my new job. And Carly, guess what? I had nothing, nothing. The only car I had, I was hoping to sell it so
Mm.
that I would make more money when I'm coming back to Lagos. 3 weeks just before I was to come back to Nigeria, that car got stolen. I did not have an
Wow.
insurance plan. If I had an insurance plan, they would have paid me my money cash. Now stay with me. So now I came back to Lagos, moved back to my parents' house because I don't have any money to rent or do anything anyways. And it was in church. My mom squeezed 500 naira into my hands as offering, and I cried that day because I'd seen money. I mean, it's not like I'd seen millions or anything, but I mean, I earned a decent salary that even offering I couldn't give myself. So I told
Mm.
myself that this is the last time this will ever happen to me. Once I started my new job, I brought out my Excel sheet. And now, back in those days, it was like 2013. Yeah, there was no now. We're seeing financial literacy is almost like mainstream. You go and have lunch, people are talking about stocks, and it's getting better. But then I had to search. I used to be on Naira Land and be checking how can I buy stocks, how can I do this. So it was the curiosity.
Mm.
Now, in those days, there were some financial institutions that wouldn't call names that if you did not have 5 million naira, you cannot buy stock with their company, right? Now
Sure.
things are better. You see those apps that even with as little as 5,000 naira, people can start investing. So it was a lot of work. I'll sit on Naira Land. I'll be searching, looking for how to teach myself about money, where to
Mm.
invest in the stocks and things like that. So that was it. So now in terms of practical steps, number one, it was I was ready. It was
Mm.
intentional. You can take a horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink water. So it has to be a deliberate intention that I want to take charge of my finances. I want to
Mm.
change my story. I want to turn things around. So that
Mm.
was number one practical step. Number two, I was honest with myself. What was coming in, what was going out. My first job then, I mean, I'd worked in South Africa before I came. So it was about 300K. Now, remember the narrative, the dollar was relatively strong. So we're
Mm.
talking about $2,000, right?
Yep.
So I'm saying this is how much I'm bringing in. What's my current expenses? What do I have left? Literally Excel sheets, keeping that. Then the next thing, what can I cut out? What is not really a necessity, right? Also, what can I currently like leverage on for free? So I had a neighbor that used to commute to work on my route. So instead of me having to, pay for my own cab or pay for my own something, I liaised with him and I was able to, contribute towards petrol. So it was
Mm.
all this trickle, little pockets of
Yeah.
intentionality, adding everything together that sort of summed up over the years. So yeah.
Mm. So watch the little spendings, be intentional, come to yourself, know where you are. Like, listen, I've got to change. You've got to have that come to Jesus moment where you say, it's not working for me. I got to change out. I hear you, Tosi. I hear you. I think Chidima is here with us. Chidima, are you on now?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, right, Chidima? Go ahead and
All
introduce
right.
yourself. And then,
Apologies. Yes, I was in as NGX and I was trying to um request to speak basically to get on, but thank you, I'm here now.
No worries. Okay, so Jim, I'm going to ask you a question. The same question I asked Toast you. Like, what is money management to you? Maybe you want to speak in some of the NGX, maybe the institutional side, but also on the personal side for you. What is money management for you?
Okay. Okay, so money management essentially, when you talk about money management, for me, you're looking at a whole host of things. You're talking about your budgeting, you're talking about your investing, you're talking about your savings, you're talking about how you spend money. It could be, obviously we're talking about individual and your own personal finances, but also the same thing applies to a company or a firm or an institution. If you wanted to really just narrow it down, you're really talking like investment management, fund management from an institutional side. So my background is more on the institutional side.
Gotcha.
We're looking at investment management and portfolio management. So the process of budgeting, saving, investing, spending. Back in the day, they used to be called money managers. Right now, because with what we have with personal devices, personal banking, and things like that, individuals can actually take control of that money management, function themselves. So you now kind of start looking at investment management, which is basically more around asset management. Assets are still money. Well, they have value, right? So on more institutional level, you talk about investment management when it comes to, and money management is not just your personal finances. Also, if you have a company, if you have a startup or something, how you manage the funds of that business as well can also be money management as well.
Gotcha. Well, when Tosi was speaking, she spoke about fertile ground, i.e., that you might have the intention, you might have the money, but you've got to have that fertile ground. I translate fertile ground to also mean the access to invest. The first time I wanted to buy stocks in Nigeria, I had to go all the way to Marina. There was no online banking. You had to go to Marina. There was this Daily Trust building was where all the stockbrokers were. You had to go in there, see someone physical, give your money to a human being. He would buy, then you wait 3 days, you go back and get a contract note. There was no CSCS. So you get the contract note and then it has your name on it. Then it has to be signed and stamped. Then you own that share. It could take anywhere from a month to maybe a week to actually buy just one stock. So right now is the Nigerian stock exchange, the way it's set up, would that translate to what Toast is talking about, fertile ground, where if I were to invest, I could invest. On my phone, I can't buy US stocks.
By what you just said, you're actually showing your true age, Carlos. Because those are processes that were used a while back. Things have moved on a lot. And not to say it doesn't happen. Well, it's moved on a lot. The platforms that we have now through our intermediaries, that's trading license holders, as they're now called, your stockbrokers, a lot of them have facilities that are now digital, they're now online. All those logistics around buying and selling of shares have all gone. A lot of your, certificates, everything is electronic. People that have physical certificates now have it all electronic. That's something that the exchange had obviously worked on over the years with the trading license holders. It will be very rare to see a trading license holder that will not provide you with an electronic platform or a digital platform for you to buy and sell your shares. Even to open an account, you can do it now on your mobile phone. Even to subscribe to new shares. I mean, if you recall the MTN issuance that we had, that was the first time we did subscription through mobile devices. So you could actually subscribe through, you could subscribe digitally instead of going through that whole IPO manual process. So the opportunity, the platform is ready for anyone that's ready to invest. The process has been made a lot more seamless. You can submit forms online. You can, submit your KYC online. And even the trading, I know you mentioned, how long it takes for you to actually buy. I mean, back in the day, it'd be like 2 weeks when we first started, the market first opened. Now we do a T+3 for equity.
That's transaction when you buy plus 3 days.
And mutual funds are a lot shorter. You can get it done in 24 hours to get your investment in your name. And there are also, talks in actually shortening that settlement time from T+3 for equity. So watch your space on that as well.
Gotcha. So when you say T+3, you mean that if I buy the stock today, 3 days, it gets settled into my account. That's what you're saying.
Into your account, into your name, yes. Into your ownership. That's
excellent.
The standard we have at the moment in the Nigerian markets, yes.
Excellent.
For equities.
Gotcha. I want to bring Tosi back in here. Tosi, how if I were to invest with a long-term approach, I'm a 25-year-old guy. I want to invest. So I'm a 25-year-old girl. I want to invest for long term. What is long term, and how can I invest for the long term?
Okay, that's a very good question. Long term is very subjective. I've read where people say, oh, it's over 10 years. Read where people say it's over 7 years. But I would like to say this, think in decades. As a 25-year-old, the biggest asset you ever have is the fact that you have time, right?
Time.
So how do you use that time? Let me give a scenario I love to use. And now I understand there are so many dynamics here, things like inflation, currency depreciation, amongst others. But let's just keep it simple for the purpose of this analysis. Now think about this. I'm a 25-year-old. I'm investing 20,000 naira on a monthly basis, and I'm getting 10% per annum, right? By the time I hit retirement, we're assuming that retirement is about 65 years, right? Guess how much I would walk away with, assuming that amount is compounded. Every time we do this scenario, people always say, give us answers like 10.8 million naira or 9.7 million naira. Because of the purpose of time, I would have asked our audience to please try, but it's okay. I'll jump right into the answer. The answer is rings bell 211 million naira.
Wait, Tosi. Hold up, wait. Say it again. So I do 20K a month.
Every yes,
What interest rate?
10%.
10%. I'm gonna
Yes.
have how much?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we're looking at a timeline of about 45 years. So it's going to be 211
Oh.
million. Now, stay with me, right? If that same person had started 10 years later, guess what would have happened? That person would have only 76 million naira. They would have lost 135 million because they started 10 years later. So now what
Gotcha.
we advocate, especially for young people, is think in decades. What am I doing today that my 10-year-old that the person in the next 10 years will say thank you to me? For some people, young people, once they want to start investing, they've always heard their parents say things like, "Oh, invest in real estate," which is not a bad thing. However, I want your own income to be strong first. So let's say you wanted to go into chartered accountancy, go and pay for that ICANN exam. Don't use the money to buy land yet. Do you get? So that once you get your qualification, you're able to charge, you're able to command your income, your earnings go up. Go and learn those skills. Go into tech. I want you to build your income in those years. Then we're going aggressive in a long-term investment plan. So every time I speak with young people, those are my priorities. Think in decades, build your income strength. I want you to start earning good early because now it's happening. People are sitting down in Lagos, they're working for a company in New York, working for a company in London, working for a company in Cairo. Go and strengthen your earning income and always put something aside for the long term. Think of this, put a bucket underneath a leaking tap and it drips drop by drop. Eventually, what's going to happen to that bucket? It's going to fill up. And when most people start thinking that way, it changes how they see things altogether.
Wow. Tony, I'm blown away, blown away. That's a good visual you just give at the end here. So think in decades, skill, time is your friend. What go increase your income by learning a skill and then invest. I think those are nuggets that everyone should just run away and work with. And you're completely correct. Time is the friend of the young, right? So excellent points there, Tony. Let me come to Chidima. Chidima, Tony has talked about time, right? So if that 25-year-old guy or girl was going to invest for decade, like Tosi has recommended, are there products, right, that are hosted on the exchange that they can just plug into? I mean, is it easy to just walk to the exchange and say, I'm a 25-year-old person, I like to invest till I'm 35, up until 45. What sort of products does the NGX have that are hosted on it on that exchange that will offer that service to me? So Chinima, did you get that? Tosin, before Chinima comes back in, Tosin, let me ask you that same question. So if I was going to invest, right, for decades, what should I invest in? Like in terms of the asset classes, where should I be in?
Okay, so there are primarily three different kinds of asset classes. We have the low risk, we have the risk, and we have the high risk. So let me start with the low risk. The low risk asset classes usually have things like, we have government bonds, we have money market mutual fund, we have commercial papers. The aim of the low risk investment is to protect your money, right?
Protection.
So We are not looking for crazy interest rates. Sometimes the interest rates might be lower than inflation rate, but the job here is to protect. We're sitting down here hedging, protecting. Now we
Mm-hmm.
have the second category, which is your medium risk, right? This is where global shares, local shares, real estate, amongst others, fall under. Now, even in the midst of this middle risk of assets, some of them are higher risk than others. So let me give you an example. If you're looking at the stocks of, for instance, an MTN or the stock of, let me say, or a Coca-Cola, you cannot
Mm-hmm.
compare it to the stock of a startup
Yeah.
or the stock company that is struggling. So in the midst of those medium risk assets, some of them are higher risk than others. Now we have the last category, which is high risk assets.
Yeah.
We're talking cryptocurrency, forex, amongst others.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've broken all of those categories down, the next question we are asking about are things like risk appetite, age, amongst others. A
Mm-hmm.
person that is in their 50s, that is closer to retirement, they cannot have the same kind of exposure to stocks or high risk assets like a person in their 20s or even mid to early 30s. So
Gotcha.
these are things to put into consideration. Now, a lot of people always want me to say to outright, they tell me what to invest in and how to do it. And
Mm.
this is why I advocate for knowledge. Now, if you even look at your likes of Warren Buffett and the rest of them, they've made some investment mistakes. You will not always get it right. You'll always become, as long as you're hungry for knowledge, as the time goes on, you become a better investor than you were 5 years ago, than you were 10 years ago. So I always advocate for knowledge so that even if you choose X, Y, or Z, you can defend it. That at
Mm.
the point when I was making this decision, this is the knowledge I had, this is why I made X, Y, and Z decision. Now, for those that are saying, I'm completely clueless, I don't know what to do, help
Yeah.
me, I advocate for ETFs. So, what is an ETF? Think of a cocktail, right? So I don't enjoy alcohol, so I'll go with a non-alcoholic cocktail. Let's say I want to have a fruit punch.
Yeah.
So there's pineapple, there's orange, there's lime. There are all these nice different juice sources that goes into this new cocktail. What happens with this new cocktail is that I do not own any of those individual items that went into it. So I can't single. Can you single out your pineapple from a cocktail drink?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No.
Can you single out the orange that went in? No. It's not a new mix. You have a new drink, and that's how ETF works. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a combination of different stocks. So I'm talking Apple, I'm talking Google stocks, I'm talking Walmart, depending on the composition. So we always advocate for the S&P 500 index. It tracks 500 of the largest companies in the US, and you can just sleep and watch your money work for you.
Mm.
So education is very key. I want a situation where people are saying this is what I'm investing, this is why I'm investing in it. So in as much as you want to sit back and let other people do the work, which is also fine, there are financial advisors that do that, but the very minimum, just know it. It's like you eating. Want to know what's going into you. I mean, you care about your health. At the
Mm.
minimum, you want to know what's going into your food. Or you going to the doctor. At the very minimum, you want to know what are the drugs I'm actually taking. What is the impact. You owe it to yourself to know it. So yeah.
Gotcha. So, and like, now talk a great info there, and how you broke it down into high risk and low risk. How you said, bonds, CPs are more of low risk, and of course we have the stock, the crypto, the FX, the stocks are more of high risk. Then, of course, your age. All these are the opportunities out there. That quote unquote that fertile land. And I liked how you ended with the ETF, the exchange traded funds, and they're more like the mutual funds in Nigeria, where I can buy into that and it automatically diversifies what I'm buying. I love that a lot. But so is there any main difference with the mutual funds and the ETFs? And again, you spoke about buying the S&P 500. If I buy that S&P 500, do I have to go back in and track it, or is it buy and forget? Just throw my seed in there and it germinates. Who manages that for me if I buy that ETF?
Okay, so the Nigerian Stock Exchange has its own ETF, right? I think it's called ETF 30. I'm sure Chidima can speak a bit more
Mm-hmm.
about it, right? And like now, let me tell you how interesting this is. So, for instance, last year the S&P 500 delivered a negative 20%. Let me put it into numbers. If you had invested 100,000 naira at the beginning of the year, you would have walked away with 80,000 naira at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, the Nigerian Stock Exchange delivered, I think, about 20% or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was positive, right? So what we always advocate for people is just have a balance somehow. If you look at the long-term play for your S&P 500 over the past 10 years, that's delivered about 10% on average, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those that have, income in naira, so for instance, you're paying children's school fees, you're doing all these kind of things, There are some stocks on the Nigerian stock market that have decent dividend yield. Some of them as high as 10% or even more, right? So this is where knowledge comes in. So am I putting my money in some NTN shares? Am I doing this? You're able to like distribute. This one is long term. This one, like, when the dividend gets paid, I use it to pay fees, I use it to pay rent, or whatever the case may be. So then you asked another question. You said, is it a hands-free kind of model? It's a hands-free. So like you can just automate and just keep, putting it aside for the long term. A few stocks in Naira that I do that for because I want my dividend and I'm paid in Naira. I need that money to pay things like rent amongst others. I just pay, that I just do a auto free, what's that word? That I just, take a hands-off approach from. Yeah.
Index passive investing, index investing.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying like diversify, get some Nigerian, get some US, and then get that blending. I'm getting my Naira, I'm getting my dollars, and I invest passively. I don't have to go to America, more or less. I put the money in here and I can get that mix.
Absolutely, that's it.
All right. So so I got a question for Chinima. So Chinima, again, just dovetailing off the ETFs and the mutual funds that Tosia has spoken about, what opportunities exist on Nigerian stock exchange? Are there these ETFs? Can you tell us about a few and who they are targeted at, and what are their demographics, more or less?
Okay. Thank you for that. So Tosin has actually covered what ETFs are. Just like she said, it's an instrument that tracks the performance of an index of some sort. So an index is like a basket of securities. It could be any kind of underlying. You've got shares, you've got bonds, you've got commodities. It could be any kind of underlying. And this ETF tracks the performance of that basket of stocks. So just like you said, instead of going out and getting like you want individual stocks, you can have all your securities in your basket and then to track that particular basket for you. So on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we have a number of ETFs. I think we have about 12. I should know this more. We have about 12 ETFs.
That's a lot.
They track a number of indices. So we have the ETF 30, Stanbic ETF 30. So ETFs can also be co-managed by fund managers. So we have a lot of fund managers that come and list their ETFs on our exchange. We have Stanbic ETFs, Greenwich ETFs, Meristem ETFs, Vertiva ETFs, and they track various underlines. A lot of the indices, so the ETF NGX 30. Now, an index, so NGX 30 is a basket of the top 30 most capitalized stock on the exchange. And the idea is that if you're tracking that index, you're essentially tracking the market. Just like Tosin had mentioned, ETFs is a more passive investment. It's like, okay, I just want to buy stock and track the market. So what do I need to do? I don't have money or the resources. Don't forget, if you're going to buy all the shares, even if you have the capital to buy all the shares, it's expensive. Transaction costs to actually buy all those shares and put them in a basket yourself, it's expensive, which is another advantage of using an ETF. All those transaction costs of buying various instruments in your basket, that's gone because it's all in the ETF for you. We have the New Gold ETF, which is a commodity ETF. It tracks the performance of gold. So it's giving you exposure to a commodity gold. And also the other indices like narrow it down to the banking ETF, which I think Vertiva does. There's also the consumer goods index and a number of other index, not just underlying. There's some ETFs that track a certain type of, so if you're looking for growth funds, growth companies, you don't want to go in and start buying all the, quote unquote, stocks that be classified as growth stocks. You can buy an ETF that tracks a growth index, or you buy an ETF that tracks a value index and things like that. So we've got about 12 ETFs listed on the exchange. So on the website, you can have a look at it and see what interests you. Now, you also mentioned mutual funds. Mutual funds are slightly different. So mutual funds are actually how let's say it's a portfolio that's managed by an investment manager. So investment manager takes your funds along with other people's funds and creates this pool of funds, and then goes out with this pool of funds and buys various securities and manages those securities with the aim of getting a return. And then that return is shared among all those that invested in that fund. I don't know if that's clear, right?
Yeah, that works for me.
So so mutual fund is actively managed, unlike an ETF, which is passive. It's just tracking the performance of whatever is in there. So an investment manager can go in and pick and decide, makes those investment decisions for you, so you don't have to make the decision yourself. So obviously you're getting the expertise of an investment manager. Another thing is that there's a lot of leverage in pulling funds together.
Yeah.
So for example, there's only so much your 10,000 naira can do for you. But imagine if you had 100 million naira, which some of these funds are that big. So if you look at money market funds, if you just look at money market funds, some of the funds are up to 100 million, 200 million. You can imagine the kind of investments a fund manager can leverage with that and give you exposure to, and you will share in that return with the rest of people in that fund. Obviously, the investment manager takes a percentage or fee, but the returns still are worth the costs that are involved. So that's really the main difference between the mutual funds and the ETFs. Mutual funds are also listed on the exchange, so you can go there and track the performance of mutual funds on the exchange as well.
Gotcha, Chidema. And just also say this, so from what I hear, it's like a buffet. If I want banking stocks or energy stocks, I can go and buy a mutual ETF. If I want Nigerian exposure, if I want equity exposure, really, I can walk into that Nigerian NGX and the buffet is in front of me and I can pick and choose and put in my basket based on those offers that are available. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly that. So it diversifies your portfolio for you automatically, makes that diversification easy for you, and they're both very liquid.
Is it cheaper? Is it cheaper to buy if I want to buy Zenith Bank, Access Bank, GTB, or I want to buy the ETF which is cheaper for me in the long run?
The ETF is cheaper.
Cheaper for me, gotcha.
So because there are transaction costs involved, that if you have an ETF that has, so if you want exposure to the banking stocks, you can buy a banking ETF instead of going in and buying 20 banking stocks that are listed on the exchange.
Gotcha.
You understand? Yeah. So it's always, the transaction costs are always cheaper with an ETF, and again, it's also more liquid than traditional securities, both ETFs and mutual funds. So sometimes you want to liquidate, you want to sell your shares. It might take a while, but you're in and out of the mutual fund. And also another advantage, I've actually mentioned, that is the amount of money you need to invest in a mutual fund. Is I think some funds are as little as 5,000 naira.
Yeah.
You can get exposure to those returns, exposure to that diversification as well for your portfolio with that amount of money.
So question is again, so if I then buy this ETF, sort of about my dividends, who do they pay them to? Do they pay them to me? What happens?
Yes, they pay them to you. So just like you will receive, so the dividends on that basket of stock, the returns are calculated into price, or they're also paid out as well.
Okay.
So you'll get them. Yes.
All right. So if I'm like a pensioner, right, I can take my pension and buy, say, like you said, a money market or a bond fund, and I get my dividends paid to me. I don't have to chase this bank, roll over here. I just buy one money market ETF and I get those dividends paid to me. It's as simple as that.
So you can buy a money market mutual fund, yeah. So those dividends, when you buy a mutual fund, there are certain criteria you can fill in on what. So normally, by Nigerian regulation, money market funds pay dividends quarterly. So they must always pay dividends quarterly. So money market funds are funds that are exposure to money market instruments only. So money market instruments are instruments that have a tenure of less than 1 year. Before you get into capital market instruments that have any tenure longer than a year, which is basically like bonds and all those things. So because of that time, all money market funds must pay dividend every quarter. And then also, depending on your fund manager, you have options to automatically reinvest that money into your fund, or it just gets paid into your account. I mean, I have money market funds set up for my daughters right now, so they just pay. Actually, I've chosen on one of them to reinvest automatically, and the other one pays out.
Wow.
As I went, it's pretty much seamless.
Seamless.
The whole process, yes. And it's a very regulated instrument as well. The SEC has oversight. So your funds are quote unquote safe. Like I said, it's heavily regulated. So it's quite low risk. It's not a high risk instrument.
Gotcha. Okay, so I want to bring Tosi back in here into discussion. Tosi, when you were talking about giving advice to the younger folks, right, how to invest, think in decades and all that, right? You spoke about your risk, your preferences. If I have a particular preference, let's say I am right now, all my kids talk about is the earth is going to, they want sustainability, they want a green earth, they want all that stuff. That's really what they look at, you know. If I want to invest with a particular focus, say maybe religion or say maybe sustainability, maybe I'm ethical, I don't want to invest in alcohol. How do you marry that into my maybe a desire for returns? How does that work?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, for those that are looking for things like ethics and things like that, it's a you have to be able to prioritize that. Ethics is very important to me, or I'm looking for halal products.
Mm.
There are companies that actually do that they actually have halal funds. There's a halal mutual fund that actually covers things like this. So you see that stocks that are in the alcohol space will not be included, tobacco stocks will not be included, amongst others.
Mhm.
So balancing it really is about what is important to you. And I keep saying is money is like an underwear, right? It's like a bra that will fit me might not fit Chilima, might not fit Zainab. So I have to be intentional about what fits me. And so when I'm choosing that underwear, then I'm looking at all these other criteria, right? So don't worry about any other thing out there. What is important to me? So if it's halal that is important, then halal is. I'm choosing my halal ones. I play a long term play. Now there's a lot of misconception out there. Many people think that because they are choosing ethics that the return will not be great. There are decent returns, right? Will it give you the best in the market? I cannot guarantee you that. But that decent return assets in this field, absolutely yes. So just focus on don't worry. It's like you're shutting your eyes out to every other person out there. What is important to me? Prioritize it and then go along that route.
Gotcha. And so, Chidima, if I could just hop back on you, just to what Tosi has talked about. What is this ESG thing, right? So in the States, it's a big topic in the States right now. The Congress, this is both Republicans and Democrats, and the President of America are talking about ESG. Should it be included, right, in how asset managers determine where to place funds? Walk me through what is ESG? What is this sustainability thing? Just break it down for me if you don't mind.
All right. So ESG essentially stands for environmental, social, and governance. That's what that's the acronym is ESG. So it's really around sustainable investing. Sustainable investing in terms of the environment, it's sustainable investing in terms of social issues, sustainable investing in terms of corporate governance and things like that. So it could span a whole number of things. It's basically it's a personal, so it's based on your own individual taste and what you want to do, where you target investments that not only give you return but actually have social and sustainable outcomes in their investments and how they produce those returns. You will always hear things like, first and foremost, green bonds. I think green bonds are the top front of when you talk about sustainable instruments. You talk about green bonds. That's what comes to mind first. So green bonds obviously are bonds so when you talk about bonds, an issue of a bond, any type of bond comes to the market to raise capital, and then they use the proceeds of what they've raised to make investments, and then obviously the returns of their investments are returned to the investor in places of coupon. So you have issuers that come to the market to raise money for green green projects, green investing, investments that help the environment, and the various types of green bonds. We actually have a few of them that are listed on the exchange. Issuers like the federal government has a number of bonds. So the federal government kind of pioneered green bond investing in Nigeria. So they have a number of bonds that they have issued and which are listed on the exchange. We also have some corporates that have also issued green bonds. For example, Access Bank has a green bond. And I think North Power as well also has a green bond. So that's on the fixed income side. Again, Tosin had mentioned there are mutual funds. There's also ETFs that when it comes around responsible investing, like she had mentioned, some people might want only exposure to maybe halal products, exposure to stocks or investments that only that are that concentrate on good governance or social or have social equity bonds as well. So we talk about females and males, women issues and things like that. So there are various types of investors. So we have Lotus halal ETFs and also mutual funds as well. So if you're talking about specific stock as well, it's actually also possible to create a sort of a sustainable portfolio with your specific stock choices. So what you can do is actually find out, other than generally, for example, you might say, okay, I'm not going to do Buris stock, or I don't want exposure to that market. I'm not going to do oil and gas because I'm not sure, oil, carbon credits, all of that. But there's so many things that you can look at in the annual reports of a particular company. A lot of annual reports from companies, they actually list a lot of the CSR that they do. So you can, a lot of the sites, a lot of the companies would have their reports listed on the site. The exchange requires you to publish your reports anyway. So you can actually go through individual stock and see who has, a good CSR outlook for the year and the past. And that would also help guide your investing. But a lot of times the easiest way really is to go after a fund or go after an ETF that has a target on sustainable investing, or get exposure to a bond which raises money and uses the capital to focus on sustainable projects.
Yeah, so this is more like the marrying of say social ideals, equity with the money, with the business of money. Because reading this report here, it's from it says 1 out of every $3 under management in the US is invested according to sustainable investment strategies. This is from the US Forum for Sustainable and Responsible Investing. So that's a lot of money. Do you see that happening in Nigeria, that going down the line, we're going to see more issues coming to the market, that ESG becomes, you have to more or less be ESG certified before you can get money from your investors, especially the younger demographics? Do you see that trend happening in Nigeria, just like it's happening in the US?
I actually see it happening, not immediately, but eventually. Just like you said, the taste of the investor, right? Where the investor's appetite is right now. A lot of people are yearning for that sort of exposure. They don't want things that, where we are around climate change, around all these issues that are around us. The investor themselves, the taste that they have, the market will have to adapt to it. And I think a lot, there are grounds for regulation to actually help support this. The Ministry of, like I said, the Ministry of Environment through the FGN, they've already started issuing bonds around this. And then also, if we look at not in other markets in Africa as well, people are actually looking at trading of carbon credits as well. So people that, so companies that know that the business that they do, don't quote unquote help the environment. They go out there and buy carbon credits from people that have those credits, that are doing green projects, and just to balance it out. But the taste of the investor is evolving, especially when even in Nigeria, when you look at the demographic of the new investors that are coming up, and the sense of people being socially aware, people being woke, people being exposed to all these factors around, the issuers, the market, the regulators will definitely need to start paying attention to these investors and to these areas. So I think yes, possibly in the future it will be trending towards that area.
Yeah, I think so. So guys, we've had about 40 minutes speaking to Tosi and Chidima. If you want to hop in, I already see some questions already on the DM, which I'm going to start to ask them. This is your chance to speak to Tosi and Chidima. Those questions you have, we've taken them through. They are personal and general talks about investing, money management. You've heard Tosi talk about the fertile soil. That's a loaded statement, that the soil has got to be fertile for you to invest. We've also talked about ETFs, mutual fund, diversification. Chidima has taken us through really lots of opportunities that exist in the mutual fund and ETF space in Nigeria. I heard gold ETFs. So you're in Nigeria, you want to diversify, and I'm hearing Chidima say gold, right? And what now landed also on sustainability, because we're in a world where we have to watch the environment, right? So there's ESG, ethical, environmental, social, and governance, It's now a thing, right? And because we're part of the global community, we simply can't just ignore. So DMs are open. Also, if you can request to speak, of course, I will add you and you can ask your question. Before you do, I have a guy asking here. Chidman, this is for you. He basically just wants to clarify that when he invests in an ETF, is the ETF paying him or the ETF has got to get the dividends from the companies that it owns to pay him? So more or less, who is paying him the dividends? Is it a function of the dividends earned by the ETF, or is the ETF itself paying him, say, a fixed or whatever sum? That's a question from Bio.
It's a function of the underlying, the exposure of the underlying. So the assets that are owned.
Gotcha.
That you get the dividend.
Okay.
So if any of the underlying instruments don't pay out any dividend, you don't get anything.
Okay, all right. So, Bio, that's it. That's your answer. And I've got a second question here for you, Chidima. This is also, and I knew this question will come. I'm going to try to word it as best as I can. There are about 3 or 4 of them with this same question. Let me sort of do a summary. Someone is asking, can we invest in cryptocurrency somewhat through the Nigerian Stock Exchange? That's just a summary of those questions. What's the policy of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to crypto and the like?
Okay. Currently, we can't invest in cryptocurrency on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
We have securities
Sorry, guys.
that there's certain what do you call it? There's certain rules that govern the kind of instruments that can trade on the stock exchange, and we don't have that approval from the SEC now to trade crypto on our exchange. Again, the issue of crypto, not to speak for out of my purview, but is it a security or is it a there's still questions around that. But as we speak, we can't actually trade crypto anywhere on the capital markets. It's not an instrument that is approved to be traded by the SEC, who is our apex regulator.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me get in 82nd division to ask this question. You've got the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Hi, Carlo. Thank you once again for the space. Chidima, thank you for explaining everything. My question is a quick one. Do we have something like a Robinhood app where you can trade all sorts of stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, options, or like Mary Edge account where you can trade on your own and buy all these instruments, ETFs, mutual funds, REITs, and everything, and then you can structure it how you want it. Maybe the dividends are reinvested as I do, or maybe you cash them out. Do we have any option like that where you can trade if you're not in Nigeria, if you're not living in Nigeria? Because in the US, you have Robinhood, you have Mary Edge, Bank of America. That's my question. Thank you.
Yes. So we have a lot of trading license holders have these platforms registered under them where you can actually go in there, register, and do the active trading yourself. They are connected to our platform at the trading engine on that stock exchange, so you get real life prices that feed into these platforms, and you can actually execute for themselves for yourself. There are a number of them on that trading license holders that you can get in touch with. I don't know if I can call all their names on this platform, but we do. But they are available. It's something that is available in our market. You can reach out to your to your broker. If you have a broker in Nigeria, you can reach out to them and they can let you know if they have an online trading platform. Recently, I believe the name slips my mind now, but there's someone that has actually just been officially registered as a sub broker at the exchange, an online trading similar to Robinhood. You can have access to a number of shares, number of instruments where you can actually go and execute yourself. And so yes, we do have similar platforms available here in Nigeria where you can get exposure and trade on your own, and kind of manage your own manage your portfolio yourself.
Yeah, there are a lot of apps that actually do that. I'm not sure if it's asking for an app.
Yes, that's what exactly what I'm asking for. You bypass the broker. You don't need a broker if you're an experienced trader.
Yeah.
That's what on your own.
Yeah, so the regulation in Nigeria might be slightly different from the US. You can't, only registered brokers can actually trade and get direct access to the market. So a lot of the times you'd have to be a client of that broker to trade the market. And so they have platforms that allow you to take control of your portfolio and your trading activities yourself. So it's not a matter of, I'm going to call the broker and I have to put a mandate down, but you can have real-time access to your portfolio. You make your buy and sell decisions yourself. You make your liquidation, or in case of mutual funds or subscriptions, yourself. So that's what I mean.
Okay, because what I do now, I have a broker in Lagos, Kenley Securities. So I credit their account and they give instructions through email or WhatsApp on what I want them to
do. So speak to your broker if they have any online. I can see APTs here, so they're actually on the call, so they might even be able to explain, because they are a trading license holder, so they can provide. I can't.
Yeah, Chidima, let me help you. Chidima can talk.
Here, so they might be able to explain that to you better.
Yeah, Chidima is so.
I have to remain independent.
I got you, and I can step in. So, the apps in Nigeria are licensed by SEC. I believe there are 3 now. I believe Shaka Securities. Yeah. I also believe Cowrie Wise, and I also believe, is it Bamboo? Those 3 are SEC regulated, which means you can trade through them. But remember, even Robinhood in America is trading through a broker. So you cannot go directly even to trading in America. They are trading through a broker. We just don't see the broker. You just see the interface. So Robinhood still uses a broker to execute and to settle. You just don't see it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to add up as a suggestion to the person who asked the question. My name is Gift. Yes, we are APT Securities and Funds Limited. So I really appreciate this meeting that you're having right now. So the man asked a question, someone asked a question, and yes, we have so many clients in diaspora. So we give them access to our online trading platform. So what they do is that they log in with their ref code. We have a ref code, which is like an account number. You log into, so you can view your stock portfolio, you can place an order yourself, you can trade yourself. The value of what you trade goes directly to your account. So you can make deposits yourself from there, from your card. So we have three methods of making deposits, which I'm not going to mention here, but it is easier to deposit funds from your account there in the UK. So you can monitor your portfolio. We have portfolio simulation where you can place order for a stock that you don't have, and it simulates it and it tells you when the stock is making progress or when the stock is declining, so that you can be able to make best decisions. So I'm not here to advertise APT Securities for a couple of months now. For a couple of months we have been on top in exchange game.
Okay.
The top 10
APT, come APT, send me DM and we can talk to you about that, right?
Okay.
No worry. But I have a question. Yeah, I got you. So Mary, I don't know if your answer, you've got the great answer now.
Yeah, I've got the answer, but also my final one would be, like, if you're in the US, I don't know if you can trade freely, because if you're not in the US, you can't use Robinhood.
If you don't have a social security number, you can. But if in Nigeria, you can do Robinhood if you have your social. It's the same. Okay. You just have to need a social. Same thing in Nigeria. You need your NIN in Nigeria as well. Yeah.
Okay, BVN.
Okay, yeah, BVN. Yeah. So same thing. Yeah.
Part of the KYC.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Correct. So I got a question for Tosin before I hand over to Lumide. Tosin, someone's asking, right? If I want to buy an ETF, right? What are the things I should look out for? Let's say I want to buy a money market, or I want to buy a stock ETF. What else should I look out for that would say give me the good characteristics of that particular ETF? Someone's asking.
Okay, great. So now, what makes up an ETF? I liken it to like a cocktail, right? There are different kinds of cocktails. There's a fruit punch. There's an alcoholic one. There's mojito, just name it. So what makes up an ETF is what goes into it. Now, believe it or not, a lot of Nigerians always say things like, "Oh, invest in mutual funds," but a lot of them are actually talking about the money market mutual fund because it tracks low risk assets, things like treasury bills, commercial papers, and things like that. Sorry that I'm pivoting. Let me go back to ETF. What I'm trying to say is that what makes up that ETF is what is inside that cocktail. So you want to know. So for instance, if your ETF is tracking just growth stocks, you know that in the market where, for instance, when we saw the crash in the market happen, it affected growth stocks more as opposed to your Coca-Cola and all your steady dividend kings. So you knowing what is the composition of that ETF sort of gives you some kind of visibility. So you're able to know that, oh, is this ETF like higher risk than average? Is it lower risk than average? You know, what goes into that cocktail? Very, very important. Those are the big things to look out for. Another thing to look out for is we always advocate for people that if you do not plan to stay in the stock market for at least 1 year, we always advise you not to go into it because nobody can predict. If anybody tells you for a fact that they can predict what's going to happen in the next 6 months, they are lying because anything can happen. Let me give you a perfect example. In 2020, we had just finished December, it was beginning of the new year, everybody's enjoying themselves. What happened? COVID hit. And what happened? Stock market took a hit. And we saw a very sharp decline. Now, for those that were put their money for rent, money for school fees, that they cannot afford to wait, what happened? They take that loss. The people that actually ended up enjoying that crash were those that were able to stay and wait that rise. For some people, they cannot afford to. They have to pay rent. They have to pay children's school fees. They had put money that they needed in the short term in an assets that should have been used for long term. Do you see where I'm going? So these are the things to consider. Can this money sit down quietly without being touched for the next 1 year? These are the things that you want to consider before you put your market into the stock market because at the end of the day, the ETF, what is in the cocktail is actually still stocks. So you want to ask yourself those questions. So yeah, those are the things to consider. Also, guys, don't forget that in as much as Tosin is saying this, I don't want you to just take it like that. I want you to also take that extra effort, just learn about it. What it, and it's not, people keep making it seem like, oh, finance is hard. Trust me, yes, I have a finance background, but there's quite a number of people on our team that do not have that background. They learned it. I love to use this argument. If you can draw your eyebrow, right, or if you can match and add people together, trust me, you can learn about your money.
Tosin, that's a powerful one right there. If you can do mascara, if you can learn how to do the mascara, you can learn how to read a yield curve. That's quoting Tosi there. I'm going to use that. All right, folks. Olumide is on board. Olumide has a question about the liquidity of ETFs. Olumide, you've got the floor, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Carlo. Great discussion by Tosi and the host. But actually, I have 5 questions. You know, I think
What?
to speak at it, but I will try to squeeze it because most of my users, most of different perspective about what is happening on the NGX, you know, really have to bring it out first. So, you know, I'm an active trader, analyst, and journalist on the NGX. So I can tell you pretty much that a lot of users complain about market liquidity. I actually have a place order I'll sell on certain ETFs, which I'll not want to mention their name. As we speak, the order has not been executed. And also the high number of dormant companies listed on the exchange also makes it very discouraging for investors to particularly know how to gauge the efficiency one. What's also your take on the fact that we've seen a number of insiders trading report and the fact that we've not seen the end of the day on these things? You know, you just see a stock rallying, a few hours later the news comes out. You know, these are things that pops up in the United States and you get in serious trouble. So it has really discouraged a lot of people because when there's no market credibility, efficiency and growth in wealth becomes a question, you know. A few months ago, I think I wrote a story about NGX blockchain capability. We've not heard anything about it. You know, I was so excited about it because it was going to attract in new kind of people. You know, particularly the fact that Nigeria happens to be Africa's largest crypto market. What incentives are you looking for? Then the last part, I also have to do. It has less to do with you, but also involves you guys because we talk about dividend, we talk about the fact that there are companies that really give good returns, and there are a lot of truth in that. But oftentimes we get this impact that we don't get the dividend. So I'll give you. I have a lot of MT and some other stocks that till now, as far back as 3-4 years. I've not gotten my dividend. And what the registrars are saying is that I have to come home to sign or fill in some forms. So the question is, if you look at the areas that we are in, the world of technology, I think a lot of efficiency needs to be done because you find out at the end of the day, apart from those that bought directly, they don't get. We have so many unclaimed dividend, and the question is, why is it like that? So those discrepancies has also contributed to lackluster in the market. Then finally, yes, I also want to ask on the fact that with the fact that we're seeing how exchanges are evolving, how are you attracting? There was this tech listing which was also very exciting. Our bringing startups, but the truth of the matter is that. How are you not more focused on liquidity providers? Because there's one thing to have a very beautiful bride, but when you don't have the incentives to feed that bride, the bride becomes anemic. How are you looking at bringing proper market providers that can ensure efficiency in the NGX? Thank you for having me.
I mean, that was a lot. I want to make sure that Chidima got the question. So
how much time do we have?
Yeah, Chidima, I would say if you could address maybe one, I think that they were all germane. He talked about efficiency, the blockchain introduction, liquidity, MTN, folks not getting their shares unless unless they came in to sign manual paper. So issue. So yeah, if you can go for it, say five, maybe you go for it. I want to ask you a question on sustainability when you're done.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that. That's that was a lot of very valid and valued questions for the exchange. So I'll just try and go through it one at a time. So you mentioned illiquidity. Illiquidity is something that we have that has been around for a while and something that we're actively trying to manage. We've introduced market makers into our into the exchange. So we've given brokers market making privileges, so they can be able to provide markets for certain stock, which help improve the liquidity. We have done it before, and what we've done now is to revamp the requirements for money and make the incentives better, so that these market makers actually come in and do what they need to do. It's a program that was relaunched late last year, I believe. So it's one of the things that the exchange is actively doing to try and address the issues of illiquidity that we have in the market. You mentioned dormant stocks. Again, this is something that we are also trying to address at the exchange. I mean, there were some things that were put in place, in terms of the pricing and the price barriers for reducing the price barrier for stocks, kind of help see some increase the trade velocity on those stocks. So those are one of the things that we did. Something we'll continue to work on with the market, with the issuers, with the investors, to improve the liquidity of those stocks. Insider trading, we have, which is really handled by our NGX regulatory company. We have a surveillance team that watches the market. It's one of our primary functions at the exchange, under the exchange group, which is now really sits under NGS regulation company. They do watch the market. There are some of these things that I don't want to say too much. I mean, we can also take this offline as well, but insider trading is something that is actively being managed by the exchange. Because I'm inside, I know I see it. So I can't tell you what, but I want to let you know that it's actually something that's actually being surveyed constantly at the exchange. So we have an eye on it. Yes, people might speculate and assume that yes, this has happened and that has happened. But don't forget that there's some technical trading habits that we also watch, which our exchange is highly equipped to do, and they monitor these things on a daily basis for each trading day. So it's something that we have a whole department, market surveillance department, that dedicated to this, and they do that very well. NGS blockchain capabilities, and tying back to the issue on crypto. So, like I said, we have an apex regulator, the SEC, and we can't do these things unless the SEC permits it. Good news is that late last year, the SEC set out a set of rules for digital asset trading, which will help kickstart this whole digital asset trading, blockchain capability, and things like this. So they've actually put out a mandate out there for exchanges to, to kind of come to the exchange and get a license to be able to trade digital assets. So the rules are now at the SEC. So the market as a whole is actually listening to the investors, and they're actually making moves to address this investment needs. So SEC recently released rules on digital assets, digital trading. So it's inviting people to come and register as an exchange. And I'm sure with many other people that are going after this license, we're actually going through the process, something that we're looking at the exchange, so we can bring that kind of platform to the investing public. You spoke about dividends. A lot have been done in years around, you hear things around e-dividends, moving to e-dividend mandates and signing. I hear you're paying around the paperwork. Again, this is something, I just came out of a meeting last week with the ICMR, that's the Capital Market Registrar Association. Sorry, I should know the full name. The Association of Registrars, and this is an issue they're looking at all the time. There's so many issues that have bottlenecks that have led to these unclaimed dividends. A lot of times, people's KYCs were not done properly in the first place. If you remember back then, when there was a boom in the market, people were just buying stocks. You open an account, you buy, Chidima Christine Chukwueke, you go and buy the next one, Christine Chidima Chukwueke, you go and buy Christine, so all those kind of things. Now that you have to have BVN, you have to have your KYC, everything, those dividends, those stocks are bought, unless you can prove, a lot of those KYC issues is what's causing that backlog of unclaimed dividends, which they are actively working on with the SEC, and they put things in place that would help resolve that. But we hear you around the need for physical signatures and things. But if you speak to your broker, they should be able to help you a bit more, because I've heard complaints like this before, and then we've also gone to the broker to see how we can help specific. But there's any specific one that you're looking at, you can also reach out to me, and I help facilitate that with your broker and the registrar to help you sort that out. We talk about the exchange evolving into embracing tech issuances and things. We've just recently launched the tech board at the exchange. Now, so when a company comes to list, there are certain criteria that they have to meet to be listed on the stock exchange. And obviously, there's some of these criteria that tech companies obviously could not meet. So you talk about things like, you must have been making profits for so many years, you must have declared dividends for so many years, you're this and this. And we all know that the tech space, returns are completely different. So the way they make returns are completely different. So we've looked at this, we've come up with a new board called the tech board, where the requirements to list on that board are slightly different from the other boards, the main board and the other boards that we have, which will help encourage tech companies to come on board and list. So we hope to see a slew of tech companies come to list on the exchange and give investors exposure to those category of assets. And I think there was something you mentioned around liquidity. I think you
covered it, Jim. I think
I've gone through most of it.
Yes.
But again, it was really great set of questions. I would really like to engage you further in this. So please feel free to reach out to me after this call, and then we can talk more at length about the issues that you brought up. Thank you, Olamide.
Great. Thank you, Chidima, for taking time to just address them point by point. That was very impressive. Guys, we'll hit the 1 hour mark. We're going to be here for the next, I believe, 30 minutes just to get you about to answer these questions. Let me get Chisom B in here. And after him, maybe I'll come back to Chidima when she catches her breath to then ask my question on sustainability. So Chisom B, you've got the floor, sir. Go ahead.
All right, good evening.
My this great speech altogether, but my question is mostly referred to Tosin.
Okay.
It's more like a typical Nigerian working, and then you've learned about the stocks, you've learned about everything about it, and say for example you're making 200K a month, and then you're investing, let's say maybe 80K or 100K as your capacity could allow, and then tragedy strike, and then what do? And then maybe you have to liquidate your stocks or something. How do you go about it? Maybe starting up again, maybe in events where you lose your job, or maybe health issues arise, despite maybe you've done everything, and then because at sometimes I work in the medical sector, so sometimes your health insurance doesn't cover every medical bill. Yes. So what do you do when the health insurance doesn't cover those bills, and then those bills are like outrageous amounts? How do you still try to stay afloat with the whole issue? And then also, as a typical Nigerian, you're working, you still have to hang out with your friends. I don't mean all those extravagant places, but those one or two hangouts.
Gotcha.
You still have to pay those, you still have to pay those bills
That's
as
true.
well. And then you still have to make up time and then invest. How do you manage yourself with the diversification of portfolio? And then how do you like manage yourself in such a way that if something is to happen, you can take some money out of somewhere that wouldn't really hurt like that? Because sometimes when you have to liquidate some stuff that you know that you might be doing well over time, but you just have that pressing need that needs answering. How do you like go about it and all that stuff? I think it's mostly what I've just been trying to make sense of.
I think that's a fantastic question. I think Tosi just is off now. Let me try to maybe answer in my own words, right? And I'll see if I can maybe send this question to Tosi. If you send me a DM as well, I'll send it to her so she can give you her own answer. But let me try to give you my own answer, right? So before when people want to invest, I say you have to have an emergency fund first. You have to have that before you start to invest. So you had to say if you do 20,000 naira every month, 20,000 every month, that's just talking about investing. Before you do that, try to do an exercise and say, what is my income? What are my expenses? In those expenses, break them into two. You have the expenses that you must make. Those are what we call the non-discretionary expenses, the ones you must make even if you don't have money. You must eat, you must pay rent, like you said, you must maybe go to the hospital. You must make those expenses even if you have to go borrow. Then there are the other expenses that you don't have to make if you don't have the money. Holiday, new dress. Break your expenses into two. Those non-discretionary expenses, that's what you want to save to cover minimum 3 to 6 months. So if you determine that your necessary expenses are like 100,000 a month, you want to save minimum 300,000 in cash or near cash assets and just keep it. There's no money you use to buy shares or stocks. It's literally cash or near cash in an account. That's your emergency fund. It's when you have done that I recommend that you even start to invest. Why? You could have bought a very, very good stock because you know their end of year is going to be very good. So their dividends are going to be paid to you and the stock will go up in price. So you've put your money aside. You've not earned interest. You are waiting for the dividends. Something happens to your car. You have to go to work. So you need to sell your shares to repair your engine. If you sell those shares, you've sold at a loss because you've not made any interest. You just kept the money somewhere. They didn't pay anything. But that emergency cash, you can draw it and fix your car. That's what it's for. So if you invest without the emergency fund, you run the risk that they're going to keep on selling down. Not just in Nigeria, everywhere in the world, you have emergencies. It's worse in Nigeria because we have very, very limited means of credit. We don't have credit cards like they do in West that you could run on that. We don't have like a HELOC, a home equity line of credit that you could go borrow if something happens to you. So it's worse in Nigeria. So in economies like Nigeria, you have to have even a larger or longer emergency fund. Not invest, when I mean not invested, cash or near cash. I would say keep it in dollars. Keep it in your DOM account. Something you can take dollars, change to Naira and spend. That's your money for emergencies. When you have at least 3 months, your target is 6 months. When you have at least 3 months, then you can start to invest. It's very, very important that you invest consistently, because investing works with compound interest. So if you break it, you don't get the advantage of compound interest. So it's very, very hard. But even if you're investing 1% of your income, it's better than investing 0% of your income. So have a target, even if it's 1%. If you can afford to buy credit on the phone, you can afford to invest. I know it's hard, guys. I know, but you have got to invest. And even if you invest in your RSA, even if that's all you are doing, and you're putting money aside in your RSA, that's fine. But make sure that as you are working, you are keeping something aside, because you will stop working whether you like it or not. And it's going to be what you have invested and saved over your annual, or should say your younger years, that's going to take you through when you get older. So just some great question. If you're sending me this question again, I'll send it to Tosi, but this could be my answer for that. All right, Chisom. I'm just going to ask Chidima. I can't hear you again. So Chidima, I don't know if you're still there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I had a question about this chapter listed the African Plus Partners just launched this carbon plus ESG focused Naira denominated infrastructure fund. I like it because they are talking to the PFAs. They want to get long term funds from the PFAs to then invest in infrastructure under this ESG framework. I don't know if you could talk more about that. And I also heard about the disclosures that the Energy Act has issued disclosures to corporate to say this is how we want you guys to report on ESG themed activities in your listed companies. Could you speak on those two, please?
Okay, I will start with the disclosures. Yes, so we had issued disclosure. Let's try to see if I can remember where it was, which would require listed companies to make it as part of what they report to the exchange and to the investors in their
Oh yeah, that was last year, about December last year. Yeah.
about December last year. So it's part of the effort that we're making to towards sustainability. Again, like I said, this is mainly investor led. This is what investors are looking for. Just like I said, the market will follow suit. It's important that these companies can start to show compliance in these areas, and it's really there for us to help them with that compliance. So it's part of what we have actually put forward to the investing public.
Gotcha.
With regards to sorry?
Go ahead.
The issuers. So you mentioned the listing that we had recently on the sorry, come again with that. The first question you asked, sorry.
So I talked about the African funds where they were linking the PFAs to ESG to invest in infrastructure in Nigeria. I was thinking, is this going to be a plan going forward to attract more of these sort of funds that would be ESG compliant? Just is that like a strategy of the exchange to go after this sort of funds? Yeah.
Yes. So it's part of the plan. Like I know I mentioned carbon credits without giving too much away, but this is really an area that the exchange is interested in. Hence that I don't want to call it a partnership.
Gotcha.
The listing and our focus in that area and trying to attract more of such listings on the exchange. So it's something that we see the markets. I mean, I think Egypt has recently started doing carbon credits trading and activities in that area. We really hope that we really want to follow suit in that way as well. So
Gotcha.
this is part of the plan. This is something that we have in our strategy to kind of follow this, and hopefully we'll be able to share a little bit more with the investing public in future in this area.
Gotcha. I just love it. So I want to just bring that out to say we're not just talking the talk, we're actually doing the do, right? So we've got the funds, we've got the PFAs, we've got the long-term focus, also the disclosure. So I like that you guys are covering those bases. Hey, Mr. Jude, Chairman, I see you. Welcome in. Just hope you're enjoying the conversation. I've got Tosin's back. Tosin, I'm going to make sure that I send you a question that Chiamaka asked me, right? I'll make sure I send it to you on your DM. She's still here. If she can ask you again, you can give your own answer. But I've got Abdul Ghaffar. Abdul Ghaffar, you've got the floor. Hello, Abdul Ghaffar. Okay, Abdul Gafar is not ready at the moment. So Tosi dropped off again. Hi. So okay, Chima again. So going back to my DM to ask you another question I have here as well. I don't know if you're ready.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so he's just asking, just to be clear, right? Someone is also asking, in terms of the returns, do you have any overall broad figures to say ESG investing boosts shareholder returns, i.e., dividends? Is it a share booster, or is it just you still get the same returns, but you're doing things better for the environment? I think that's what she's asking. That does doing ESG, does it boost the corporate profits of the company that adopts it? That's what she's going.
So we've looked at this before. I don't have statistics for it, but we've looked at it before. In other programs we've done in sustainable investing, and there's evidence that yes, there actually might be a slightly more return. People will argue either way in terms of return from sustainable investing, and not just looking at on the green side, but also on the social side of investing. And then I start talking about equity and in governance, and International Women's Day was last week or 2 weeks ago, and then they brought up issues about women-led businesses, and there was actually empirical evidence that those such businesses give longer-term return. But I'm sure there's data to support it out there. I've heard talk that yes, they might get better returns, but I think it's really important more on the investor themselves and their own personal choices when choosing to go after sustainable instruments. I don't have the data here, so I don't want to say either way, but there are arguments on both sides. So there is a possibility to get higher returns from sustainable investing.
Gotcha. And then also someone's asking that this took on me that you can share the ESG eco-friendly funds in NGF. Maybe you could share the links. If you share to me, I'll share to my followers. If you do have them here, you can share to the handle so folks can actually just see a direct link to the ETFs. I think it's on the website. When I go to the website, if you go to the NGX website, guys, you're going to see all their funds. Just really at the bottom, you see they list out all the available. Let me just go right there and give name. Or they have the premium board and all that. It's really at the bottom. Or these are indexes, right? At the very bottom.
So you'll see the indices, and I think I'll get someone to share the direct link for it.
Okay.
So you see the indices, those are the underlines for the ETFs. We have various indices, like I think Tosin has also mentioned, the halal index and the funds that the ETFs that are created from those indices by Lotus fund managers as well. So if you check the website, there I'll get someone from the team to share the direct links for those instruments.
Excellent. So I see the ETFs here. The Stanbic ETF 30, Mary Value, there's New Gold, there's Mer Growth, and then there's the SIAM LET 40. Those are the ETFs out there in the market. Interesting. All right, super. Okay, so I've got Mr. Lawal H. Mr. Lawal H, you've got the floor, so go ahead. Lawal? Lawal, go ahead. Okay, I'm going to take Lawal off. And then Chidima, I'm going to go back to DMs as well and just keep asking you. Tosi is off. That's what I'm asking Tosi, but Tosi is
okay. I think she's requesting. I can see
yes, I have added her back. So once she gets in back here. But so Chidima, just to go back again to the exchange, broadly on the exchange, I know Lumide asked a lot of questions about the efficiency and all that. One thing I've always heard people say to me, especially younger people, that they look at the exchange as this big monster that is too big for them to eat. Like, when they go there, it looks complicated. Like if I have 10,000 naira, it's just, where do I start from? So I'm not sure if you have an answer. I'm not a question, but just giving you feedback in terms of how the young new investors see it. It might be a good idea to, I don't know how it's going to work. Is it education? I know it's not a big monster. I know it's a very open institution that wants to promote youth financial education. That's why they're doing this, right? We're doing this to also talk about education and inclusion and all that. But I think we have to bring it also down in quotes so that these younger folks can see that, listen, if you can invest at a younger age, and this is how you do it, this is how we're going to help you to do it. I also think more research has got to be on the site. I see the market activities, I see the trading, I see all that, and it's all there. Perhaps if we could get maybe the past, there was a time we used to get the past results and the market research for the companies on the site, but I think it's off now. That would also help. Like I could go and look at dividend yield of any company in Nigeria. I should maybe see it on the site. So that way we can always refer to the NGX site as our
Yeah.
go-to, as our go-to. That's actually where I'm going to on that. Yeah.
We Yes, so just to take up your point on investor education, financial literacy. This is a big push for the exchange. There are a number of capacity building initiatives that we embark on. Last year, this year, in terms of webinars, information, educating the public, um, and educating the public. We've had a number of webinars that are retail focused. A lot of people think, like you said, is this big albatross of an exchange and focus on institutions. But we have a focus for a retail investor coverage strategy at the exchange, where we really focus is to grow our investor and our retail base. So part of this strategy for growth is actually financial literacy, capacity building for the investing public. So it's something that's in the forefront of what we do. We engage through various webinars we host at the exchange. We partner with trading license holders. Again, we are a regulator, we're a platform. A lot of the active work is actually done through our intermediaries. That is the trading license holders that we regulate in the market. So we partner with a lot of them to help reach the investors are not our direct clients, so we partner with a lot of them to reach the investing public with a number of webinars focused in it. I think we just had one recently with one of our trading license holders around e-dividends and dematerialization and things like that. So these are things that we actively embark on. I've taken note of what you said about the website. Yes, we should have research on there that should be published, but I've taken note of that, and obviously we'll see how we can get that back up there. If you say that it's down, we'll look and see how much information that we can give on there. A lot of the companies themselves are required to publish their reports, their financials, so you can actually have access to them from the website or a link to the financials of the company as well. But I'll look into what you said around the research and make sure that we're up to date. But you do have data. We have a whole market data department that helps to disseminate data to the investors, and you can actually subscribe to some of this data, and that will help fund your research. But I hear you on the research report. I really thought that it's still on there, but if it's not, we would have a look at it and make sure that we have weekly, monthly reports on the market and things like that should be published weekly and I think monthly. So it should be on there, but I don't have access to check it now. But
it's still there.
I'll follow through on that.
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there. Just yeah. Okay. So Tosi is back. I want to just ask this question on behalf of Lady that asked. Tosi, Lady had asked before. I think she's dropped off. She had said that listen, she's a quote unquote normal investor in Nigeria. She invests. She runs into unforeseen financial, should we say, turbulence, and she needs her funds. How does she marry this investing long term, and also how does she marry this, taking care of the day-to-day financial needs that happen? I did give my answer. I would love for you to also give your own answer. I think that's a very, very great question for everyone listening. So, Tosi, if you can maybe just hop in and talk about marrying this long-term investing that is really, really good. And we've seen the numbers say it's good, but the reality of the Nigerian daily grind of meeting expenses with low income and fixed minimum wage.
All right, thank you very much. I apologize. The network threw me out, but I'm back. Great. So now, when we are talking about managing this real life situation, the truth is it actually happens. We did a survey. We're asking people, what makes you need your emergency funds? And three things jumped out at us. Number one, health. People go about their business, God forbid, something happens and if they fall sick, they have to now, spend money. How can you mitigate that risk? Health insurance. Nigeria has insurance penetration rate of just 3%. I don't like to share my story. I don't like people in my business, but if I am doing a financial literacy job and I've seen how this has saved me, I will share it to the end of the earth. I was sick for about 8 months. We spent 2 digits millions of naira in hospital, and my health insurance covered it. So one of the big things that steal money from our pockets are things that we do not plan for. Insurance is very key. Please go get it. Number two, car insurance. You were minding your business, going on your own. Somebody comes hit you, then you have to mitigate the expenses. How do you mitigate that risk? Please get an automobile insurance. You'll be surprised the number of people that have just a third party insurance and they're driving their cars are worth over a 1 million naira. I'm strongly advocating that you should go get it. My argument is this: if you can buy Ashrebi, you can buy health insurance and
Hmm.
car insurance. Now, the third one is this: God forbid somebody loses their job, right? How do you mitigate that risk? We want you to be very visible, have very fantastic skills. Two people can lose their jobs. One person gets another one in the next 6 months. Another person gets another one in the next 2 months because of how high in demand those skills are. So where am I going? Now, these day-to-day activities, they happen. Now, in terms of splitting your budget in order to meet these needs, looking at something for my short term, another thing for my emergencies. Now we've covered three key ones that usually happen. There are other ones that we might not even know of. Things like somebody's loved one passes away, right? And we know how we Nigerians are a bit apprehensive towards having those kind of insurance for it. So you're having an emergency fund for if anything happens. I have something to fall back on. Why is an emergency fund also important? It does not disrupt your current movement. Now, the next question people will ask is, Tosin, how much should I have in that fund? It depends from people to people, but this is what we advocate for. Everybody should be able to calculate their magic number. A magic number is the amount of money you need to get by on a monthly basis, right? Now, put the equivalent of about 2 to 3 months in somewhere that you can easily access. This money should not go into the stock market. This money should not go into real estate. It should go into a place that if you were to demand for it, within the next 24 hours, you have access to it. So I want us to start feeling comfortable with life. Things will happen. Something will happen. God, you could just misplace money. You could just real life will happen. It does not mean that you have bad luck or anything. It's really just life, and that is where emergency funds comes in. So I really hope that this was a bit helpful in navigating that. Now she said something about Tosin. Is it really possible for me to be able to have a long-term investment? Yes, it is. Let me show you how it is possible. If you have something called a discretionary income, a discretionary income is what is left after all your essentials are covered. It is possible. There are some people that are not there yet, right? They are still struggling to make ends meet. If you're in that category, don't worry. Your focus should be how I should be building skills so I can earn more money and I can have discretionary income to be able to invest in the long run. So everybody's story is different. So wherever you are currently, be kind to yourself and look at you. See, we can lie to every person, but you cannot lie to yourself. Crunch those numbers and check. Do I truly have a discretionary income? If you don't have it yet, that's not a problem. Continue to work. That discretionary income is eventually going to come. I hope you found this helpful. Also, feel free to jump into my DM, and we can, navigate it further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toasty. What a way to close it out. I'm just going to take one last person, then we can close. His hand has been up. Just going to take one last, but just after him, we're going to close out. Adetayo George, go ahead, sir. Adetayo, you're going to close it out for us. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Please, what I would just like to hear from professionals speaking this morning is to have like, do I say something like a personal insight, like do I say a personal insight or like an honest recollection of your own journey into investing in Nigeria? For the maybe okay, you entered into the stock market a couple of years ago with so amount with this kind of trading. Do I say pattern?
I hear you.
And then in the last couple of years, the market has performed this way. So, okay, I've earned this amount of dividend, and okay, right now I'm at so amount of money, and then the next couple of years, this is what I expect. I don't like what I've been flying around since I've been listening. I started this piece has been more of the theoretical aspects and I don't know, is it just trying to sell this the whole NGX thing to real retail investors? So I'd just like to have like a personal insight.
I hear you. I hear you. So let me just say this, right? Understand that number one, whatever we're saying here is all opinion. This is not we're not selling or buying, not asking you to go trade, right? And
Yeah,
what
but that's what you are doing.
I hear you. And what NGX is doing, literally, right, is coming to talk to the retail investors on Money, World Money Week, and saying these are the opportunities. When we started off, Tony made a statement: you have got to invest in fertile ground. Even if you have the information, even if you have the money.
Yes, I
No,
understand what
let me
you're
answer the
saying, but
question.
what I would just like to know is, okay, you, Mr. Carlo,
So it only talks about the fertile soil, right? So if you have the fertile soil, then you can go invest. That's what Angels is talking about, telling you that there is some soil in the NGX, that there are some folks that you can actually give them money and then you can make this return. But let me answer your question directly, right? So you want a personal, I'll give you my own personal story. Two stocks I bought. The first stock I bought in my life was First Bank. That was when Stanbic, not the Stanbic, Standard Bank. When Standard Bank was leaving Nigeria, they sold their First Bank shares. I bought that stock before I go into university. So you can know my age, calculate what that was. I think I paid 500 naira for that stock. That was the money one chief gave me in my village when I went for Christmas. So I used that money and I bought First Bank shares, 500 naira. I went to university, I didn't touch it because there was no online banking. First Bank had paid bonuses and dividends, a lot of bonuses. When I was working in Lagos, lots of years, I went back to registrars and I calculated all the dividends, all the bonuses that I got from First Bank. I'd forgotten about the stock because it wasn't online, right? When I did a calculation of how much shares I now owned from my 500 shares in First Bank, I couldn't do the percentage calculation. It was too high. So I'd invested 500 naira. What I had was in the millions. This is a true story, my own story. And I'm not asking to go buy First Bank. You ask for a personal story. I'm giving you a personal story. That's what I got from First Bank, right? Let me also give you on that story, right? On the same stock market. There was during the craze for shares back then. There was a company called, should I mention the company's name? Union Diagnostics. And it was a great business model because back then we're all human, so you need to get your health tested. I bought, it was a penny stock. I bought a lot of it. Till date, I've received no dividends, no bonuses, so it was sunk investment. So I got a lot of money from First Bank. That's how I got married. I sold my shares in First Bank and I paid for my wedding, right? And from Union Diagnostic, I got nothing. So the point I'm making is this, right? And the third investment is this NGF gold ETF that Chidima spoke about. That is the best performing stock ETF in terms of returns in Nigeria. Why? Because it's gold. So as the naira had depreciated, that ETF had gone up. The gold ETF had gone up. So three stories right there. So if you had bought that gold ETF 3 years or 4 years ago, you'd have made tons of money from Nigeria. The point I'm making is this: there is no best, good, bad investment. You have got to buy to meet your objectives, your risk profile with a long term view. You've got to buy what suits you. Tosi has given a good example. You've got to buy like you're buying your underwear. So when you say personal stories, you're going to have the good, you're going to have the ugly, you're going to have the had I known stories. But you've got to get the knowledge, you've got to get the exposure, you've got to invest. You can't wait, you can't question, you can't say, what if we are selling? Yes, they are selling, but they are asking you to come invest in the marketplace. In 2020, Nigeria was the best performing stock market in the entire world. Entire world. Go check it out. So it's a good place, it's a fertile place to invest. So don't be too cynical about this. If they're selling to you, do your due diligence. And if you think that's okay, then of course invest. Okay, with that point, Chidiman, do you want to close us out today?
You've already said a lot of what we're going to say. So I would just like to thank everyone for joining this call. I hope we'll be able to share insights with everyone on this call on how to invest and how to make the best use of your money. We'll be able to expose you to the opportunities that are out there in the market for you to invest and to get returns in your market. Following on from the global money week theme, in investing in your future and sustainable investing. I hope you'll be able to throw a lot of insight on that. Just remember that this is also a part to your to you being, financially sustainable, right? You just be able to take care of yourself and take care of your finances. If you need any more information from us, you can get a lot of information from our website, and you can contact us. If you hit the contact center, they will put you in touch with me directly for any more questions that we were not able to take on this call. So I hope we'll be able to give you more insight into investing and investing into your future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chidima. Chidima, please follow me so I can follow you back, right? I'm not on the NGX. Just follow me and I'll follow you back. Okay, so guys, I want to just thank Chidima. I want to also thank Tosi, my great friend, for just spending an hour and 40 minutes with Nigerians across even the diaspora, talking about investing, ETF, sustainability, ESG. It's not just all about the money. I want to thank them for spending their time with us and for doing this. APT and the rest that have also chimed in all the questions, I appreciate it. All the folks that wanted to ask a question, I'm so sorry. We are running up against the clock. Guys, remember, it's going to be recorded. It's going to be on Twitter Spaces. It's also going to be recorded on the podcast that you see on my handle. And it's also going to be recorded on YouTube. So if you didn't listen, start from the beginning, you can always go back and listen to this all through, and you can also learn from it. Thank you, folks. We are here every weekend. We try to bring a money topic to you, and this week has been on the ESG ETFs Money Week, talking really about day to day and really explain this thing in a way that we can understand. I appreciate all that have joined in. I'll let you guys go now to go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care of yourselves and do stay safe. Thank you so much, and bye.